Oh, hello, everyone. A really warm welcome to you to this session of daily meditations. And noticed this morning that the first message in the chat was good afternoon from Australia. So it's a reminder to us, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, anytime, day or night, we're welcome. Welcome here into this space of community together. So wonderful to see the chat alive and buzzing with the warmth, and the care and the connection of this community building now for getting close to 3 years. Quite something. So joining in that warmth, joining in that care, joining in that connection, I'm also welcoming you to this space, whether you're here for the first time or you're here most days, you haven't been here for a while. Here we are all together, joining in this gladness of community and of Dharma, exploring the teachings, exploring the practices, exploring what's meaningful for us in our lives. So I'm just pausing and enjoying that sense of the community, the exploration, and the possibility to come together in this way with what's important to us, what's meaningful to us. And the session today will include, as it usually does, a reflection and a guided practice, and then some time for questions, which have been, as always, very rich this week. So thank you to everyone who's been sharing questions, listening as well. So this morning I'd like to, sorry, a bit croaky. This morning I'd like to continue our exploration of the habits of attention with that insight in heart and mind, that insight in the background, that how we pay attention is often habitual rather than intentional. And that includes the habits of what we pay attention to and of how we pay attention. So we have habits of where attention is pulled, and we have habits of how we pay attention, the atmosphere of attention. And what we're interested in this week through the practice is to see, can we bring more responsiveness? Can we bring more responsiveness to what's arising in experience and to how we are attending to it, to how we're paying attention to it? So one thing we've already been seeing, this came up in the questions yesterday, and sometimes I feel it's as if like I've planted questions in the audience, to lead us on, is that when we pause, we might notice that attention habitually shrinks around the object in attention. That's a habit of attention. It contracts, it shrinks around it, particularly around the unpleasant, but generally it does that. And that contributes, that habit of attention to shrink then contributes to a sense of contraction and of limitation in experience. We might say in common expressions would be we feel trapped in our experience. And we know that from our meditation practice, right? There's a wave of restlessness, or there's a wave of tiredness, or there's a wave of aversion, doesn't matter what is arising there, and we feel trapped in that. And actually, I'm doing this because when we start noticing how is attention functioning in that moment, the trappedness is a lot to do with this shrinking. A lot to do with this contraction and limitation of attention. So when we pause, we can notice that that's what's going on. When we invite relaxation, like we were doing yesterday, as we relax, what happens? the space opens, yeah, even if it's a little bit. And we can notice it in the body. Yeah? Sometimes just paying attention to the out breath. Yeah? So the out breath naturally has a relaxing quality to it. And we notice, there's just this very kind of, might be very small, but very palpable sense of the space grows. Yeah, the body actually expands with the out breath as it relaxes, as it lets go. So we can say there's an opening that happens with the relaxation, including the invitation to relax. And so this is what we're going to take further today. Yeah, we're going to bring responsiveness, bring intentionality, bring agency into playing with how open the space of awareness is. Yeah, and it's something we can do. And again, just some of the questions yesterday around emotions like sadness or around the experience of restlessness. What happens when we play with that space? Yeah. When we increase the space of awareness, what happens? Yeah. And with certain things like restlessness, like tiredness, that can be very potent. Yeah, just to say, there's this experience of restlessness. I'm going to open up the space of awareness wider. And what happens? I had that this morning in my morning practice before the session. Yeah, for whatever reason, I was really sleepy. I actually think it was because I was a little bit cold, so I was wrapped up too warmly. At some point, eventually, I threw off my shawl. But anyway, that's beside the point. Playing in the practice with opening the awareness when there's tiredness, and it keeps shrinking, but we open it. Yeah, we keep opening. Same thing with restlessness. And I'm suggesting it as a field of practice, a field of exploration, to try it out for yourself, which we're going to do today, and see what happens when we open the space, when we increase the space. We can do it right now. Yeah, open to sound, for example, in your environment. Yeah, and you just open the sound, and you kind of just open awareness to hear the sounds in the environment. You might notice naturally, awareness expands. Yeah, and we might just see what happens when we do that. Yeah? What happens to the kind of sense of the experience. And we can play with that. We can open the awareness to further and further sounds if we like, or we can say, okay, just the sounds in this room. Yeah, whatever they may be. So yeah, just getting a familiarity with that movement of awareness, which is actually quite a fluid thing, not fixed. And we're interested to see what happens when we increase the space or increase what we're aware and attentive to instead of just one thing, like a field of awareness, a bigger space available. Important to mention here, it's not about a hierarchy. It's not that this is a more advanced practice than something else. It's not. It's a different way of practicing. Yeah. So this may or may not be appropriate for you with the conditions that are arising in your body, heart, and mind today, or a different day. So we try it out, we explore, we get to know there's a range, and we want to become familiar with the range. There's the possibility, when necessary, to be really grounded, and we'll begin in that way again today. Someone was saying to me yesterday, you always begin with this, grounding in the contact sensations. Sorry about that. But I do. Yeah, that's how I practice, and I find it really useful. So getting to the sense of just, that sense of groundedness, and we know that's one possibility, grounded immediacy of particular sensations, and then the possibility, sometimes with that as well, to open. Yeah? And different degrees of openness or groundedness, centeredness are appropriate at different times in different situations. We're interested to kind of learn the skill of moving between them and knowing the impact that they have on our experience. Yeah? And then we can choose how much we open the awareness and to what we open it and in what circumstances. And just some examples, sometimes if we feel like, there's really a lot of distraction, I'm very scattered and I need to gather and ground. Yeah. And then maybe the contact sensations. Yeah. Other times need to energize or make more space, regulate, and then a broader attention. Mm. And this, of course, through this week and in practice in general, really interested to see how is this transferable to other situations, not just to formal meditation. So we can also bring this sense to other situations in our lives. Yeah, we're feeling very limited by something. What happens if we open the space out? Yeah. Or we're in an interaction with someone. What happens if we open out the space to take in their whole body, their whole being? Not just the face or the words that are coming through. Yeah, so something we can play with there. So yeah, I'm really loving this practice with you this week because it kind of keeps reminding me also to just to pause and to breathe and to notice. And that's what I'm doing right now, just to sense, was that enough? Is there anything else? And I think that was enough words for now, and an invitation to practice. So let's do what we need to do to get into a supportive posture for our meditation practice. You might already be in your posture. In that case, just making adjustments. You might be checking in and feeling what's the appropriate posture. Wherever you're at, it's a good opportunity to adjust. The posture, to make any fine attunements. That will support the body to be stable and steady, balanced, aligned. And that in turn supports the heart and mind. So settling into the posture, awareness, present in the body as we do this. I'll take a few moments to ground the awareness and the attention in the body. Seeing for yourself what would be helpful. With that might be the contact sensations. There's a way to ground and root the awareness in the body. Some of you, it might be the breath. Really having a sense of inviting the awareness into the body in whatever way is most accessible. Grounding and rooting awareness in the body. And from that groundedness and rootedness, we'll just gently Invite the awareness to open, to spread, to expand through the body space. Getting a sense of the whole body as we do this. Feeling the whole body here. An awareness spread through the whole body. And within that space of awareness, that intention of kindness. Practice as an act of kindness in the world. And then opening to the anchor of our attention. And if possible today, could be useful to use sound if that's possible for you. Just a very accessible way of opening the awareness through the listening to sound. But for some of us, for different reasons, that may not be useful. And so then staying with the breath or the body, but just with a sense of quite an expansive and open attention and awareness. So we're opening to listen to sound, opening awareness to sound, receiving sound, but noticing how the awareness expands towards the sounds that are arising. We don't need to do anything, it just naturally does that as we listen. And so practicing with sounds as they arise, opening awareness to the arising of sounds. Light quality of attention as sounds arise and flow through awareness, disappear in their time. We've got this very light quality of pausing to notice this experience and inviting relaxation to the body and mind as we do this. So that's going to be our practice today. Body awareness, and from there opening out to the arising of sound, letting the awareness, the attention receive the sound, Staying in touch with the flow of the sounds, the appearance and disappearance of whatever sounds are naturally gathering the attention to them. And just every once in a while, just pausing to notice what's arising, inviting more relaxation into the system. Aware also of any impact the practice is having on the sense of well-being. Let's explore this in silence for a while. So here's a moment of possibility. Noticing what you notice, pausing to notice this moment of experience, this sound appearing in awareness, and relaxing the body, the heart, mind with it. As we do this, feeling the possibilities of opening and playing with that. What happens if I open to further sound, if I'm using the soundscape, or if I open more fully through the body with the out breath? Also, when distractions arise, just noticing distraction, pausing, relaxing with that momentum, acknowledging and settling back with the anchor, back with the sound, playing with opening attention and awareness to explore what's useful, more open or more precise. Keep exploring. Keep noticing any impact on experience, resting into any well-being that arises as you do this. What's unfolding in this moment? If there's any distractions arising, what happens when you pause, relax, and open with this unfolding experience? Bringing this sense of responsiveness to how we meet, what's present in awareness. Bringing the sense of possibility to open the awareness through the body, open the awareness out to the sounds appearing and known. Perhaps also opening awareness to the presence of life being lived in this body and also around us. Sounds of birds, the sounds of humans going about their day. The knowledge that beings are living around us, plant beings, animal beings, human beings. Letting awareness open to that too, if that's helpful. Every moment there's a possibility to pause, relax, open. Let's keep exploring that. And again, noticing what you notice, what's appearing, without judgment, pausing, relaxing with what's arising. Seeing if we can rest awareness into the body and into the space of listening. As we let awareness open with sounds. And for the last few minutes of this practice, opening also mentally. Remembering all of us practicing here together. Feeling yourself part of this network of practice and of care. Supported and supporting. So opening to the network of life and the network of practitioners, of Sangha community. And letting awareness rest with that as we keep pausing, relaxing and opening. As an act of kindness in the world. In a moment, the bell will ring and we can open to that also, letting the sound reach us. Taking time as we open the eyes or move the body to open awareness to that experience, not rushing. Taking time with the transition, no rush at all. So in a moment I'll open to questions. Just a reminder about how to do that. And then a couple of things about dana and how to bring the practice into the day. With the questions, if you wish to ask a question, the way we do it is through the chat. So it's helpful if you begin the chat message with question written in capital letters. That allows me to see it very clearly and distinguish it from other messages. And then it may sometimes take time for me to actually read it if the chat's moving a lot. So you'll have to bear with me and pause and relax and open with that. You can also use the raise hand function, and then Faith will bring you on so that you can ask the question. We can see you and hear you asking the question. That's also a possibility. So if you want to do it that way, then use the raise hand function, which is in the menu bar underneath the video screen. A little bit about dana practice. Yeah, so we've been exploring how to do the dana practice with the meditation suggestions here over the days. So pausing the sense of I know this already, relaxing the body, opening. Yeah, this opening can be really beautiful in the practice. What happens when we open to the fact that these sessions are gifted to us? Yeah, they're gifted to us, they're offered to us by others, all those who've been here over the years supporting the sessions with their presence and with the financial support. When we open to the Zohar Lavie team working so hard to make this possible, yeah, with all the kind of growing pains we're having right now as we've shifted platforms, yeah, opening to that. We're opening to the sense of what's possible for us in this particular time. Yeah, a sense of the giving and receiving and our part in that in whatever way is possible. That may be different for different people. We've got different circumstances. We're opening to the goodness. Yeah, the goodness of dana, the goodness of the teachings, the goodness of the dharma, the goodness of participation in whatever way that is possible. So, it's a really beautiful way of practicing that I invite you into, remembering that these sessions are possible, yeah, because we're all here and we're all supporting them in the ways that we can, including financially. So, Faith will post the dana link in the chat, either now or later in the session. You can also simply find it on the donate page, either in the Zohar Live page or in the Zohar Live Connect page. But the link will be there, and you can follow it to all the information on how to offer dana. So hopefully by now some of you are writing questions. There's the link, or kind of articulating them to yourselves to write. I also want to say a little bit about how to bring this practice into the day. It can be really rich to do and open up possibilities. So just taking time in the day to pause, yeah, to notice, to relax, and to open. Yeah. So it may be, say my curtains are still drawn now. After the session, I'm going to open them. So as I do that, just knowing I'm going to open to the world of sight outside my window. Yeah. Through the day, having this intention to just open to space. Yeah. Noticing the space in a room. Noticing the space between things. Noticing the space between and around sounds. Yeah. So there's a lot to kind of open to there. Yeah. That we can play with. Opening to others. Yeah. The presence of others, like we were doing at the end of meditation. Others are practicing right now, even if we're not practicing formally. Yeah. Others are living their lives, yeah, and opening to that sense of them. The Sangha here, the community here, is still here, even when we're not in the Dharma hall together. Yeah, so opening also to that, seeing how that impacts our experience. Yeah. So hopefully that's helpful as a way to engage with our experience today. And I see that there's a question already in the chat, so I will move over to that. As I'm new to this lovely community, I was unsure if the sound could be an internal mantra or about external sounds, which may be quiet in our surroundings if we're lucky enough. I switched from a mantra to external sounds at your second check-in. Perhaps I wasn't listening to your invitation. The effect was roughly the same. So great exploration there, Louise. Thank you for the question, and great exploration. So I think as you found for yourself, we can use either. Typically, when we talk about mindfulness of sound, we mean external sound. So not sounds that we're generating intentionally. Maybe that would be the distinction. So it could be the sound of the breath, but it's not a sound that I'm generating internally. And yes, it may be quiet, depending on the environment, but there may be things that we can still hear, even in a quiet environment. If there aren't, then yes, we could also generate something internally like a mantra. Or if a mantra is something that you like working with and you're familiar with, then you could definitely work with that and attend to the sound of it. If the impact felt like it was roughly the same, interesting, yeah. And then keep exploring that and see. And especially if there's capacity to open to further sounds, but we can also just open awareness. Yeah, sounds are just a good way of doing that. And I'm doing this. The external sounds, they're just a good way of opening the space of awareness quite effortlessly. But we're also learning how to open the space of awareness intentionally and volitionally. So, yeah, we can do both. And it is interesting to notice the impact that has. And let me know if that responded to your question or if you want further clarification. Yeah. Yeah, and there's another question. Thanks, Monica. I have tinnitus, and when I focus on sound, the buzzing dominates. Any thoughts? Yes. Thanks for that, Monica. And that's why any anchor that we suggest might not be appropriate. Yeah. So it really depends. If it feels like when you focus on sound, the buzzing dominates, and then that creates contraction, which is not what we were trying to do now, use something else. Yeah. If it feels like, yes, the buzzing dominates, but that's okay, I can open around it, that's actually a useful practice for me, do it. Yeah, that's a good way of learning how, I'm using that, and it's the attention shrinks and contracts. You might really feel that. That's part of why it dominates. Yeah, the habit of attention is to fixate on that, and then as attention fixates, there's a shrinking of awareness, and then that becomes the thing in the space of awareness that's there. When we open the space of awareness, it becomes a thing amongst other things. Yeah, but that's quite a skill, and it's sometimes not so easy to do it with something that already has a history, especially a history of aversion or any kind of reactivity. So I'm answering and not answering your question, and do let me know how that meets you. I would say if it feels too much, yeah, the buzzing dominates and there's then a struggle with it, don't use sound. Yeah, something like tinnitus. Sometimes it's not a helpful format, and it might be more helpful to use the body or the breath and playing. We can breathe in a way. I didn't go into it, but we can imagine the breath spreading through the body, and then we're opening awareness that way. Yeah, the awareness just of the breath filling up the body like it was a balloon. Yeah, or it's just the body. It does do that, right? We can feel it expanding, and then kind of expanding with the in-breath, relaxing, and then in the relaxation also opening on the out-breath. So, yeah, and it's a wonderful thing about practice that we have different objects and anchors that we can use. Maybe I'll just drop in another one, Monica, there. First of all, what Louise mentioned, a mantra can also be helpful, but metta, if you like metta practice, the metta phrases, and as we expand the metta, we're also expanding awareness, right? When we're sending it to somebody else, expands. So quite a few things to play with. And I hope that was useful. And there's another question about sound from Helen. Very quiet where I practice, so I rarely work with sound. I tried today, but found myself daydreaming a lot. What other objects could I work with that would generate that same sense of opening? I found opening to other living beings around me helpful. So you've kind of, again, answered the question, Helen. And it also relates to Louise and Monica's questions before. Yes, so metta. If you're opening the metta, or just a sense of opening to other living beings. Yeah, oh, there's others, there's trees, kind of soaking in nutrients from the soil. There's creatures burrowing into the ground. There's beings waking up if it's morning. There's the birds going around their business. We're opening out to other beings, and that opens up the awareness. So we can do that. And as I said, with the breath, And just with awareness itself, yeah, it's something we can do. Yeah, we can open awareness. It's just through sounds. It's a easy thing, but it's not the only thing. Yeah, it was just an example. And there's many, many ways. And you can practice with sight. Now that probably your eyes are open, you can also see, oh, I can say, just look at the screen in front of me, or I can open up the sight to, everything I can see on the wall in front of me. Yeah, or the whole room. Yeah, I'm in front of a wall. You might be in front of a bigger space or out the window. So we can play with that to get a sense of what we're talking about. But it can also just be in the body space, just opening awareness in the body. Now that can be enough. Okay, I hope that responds, Helen. And there's another question from Henry. I notice how deep my inner critic is and how much it can define who I am and my place in the world. How to notice when the inner critic has crept in and how to soothe the pain that it can create. And who am I without this inner judge? Does it have any importance in giving clarity? Oh, it's a very beautiful question. Thank you, Henry. The different layers of it, and just seeing that there's so many different layers here. So yeah, the voice of the inner critic, very common for many of us. It does creep in, we can say, if we use the sense of a voice, it can be just a little whisper or like an atmosphere, and then it can become quite dominant and quite loud. So how to notice, becoming more familiar with it. It's like a character that you get to know, yeah, in your life and in your internal life. Tunisia Rabiku has this image. I'm sure I've mentioned it here before. He says, the mind is there's not just one person in our mind. There's a committee in there. Yeah, it's a committee of the mind, seeing the mind as a committee that's got different characters in it, different voices. Interestingly enough, there's this very popular theory now, internal family systems theory, in psychological circles. My mother just asked me to get her the book. I just have it on my bookshelf behind me, to take to her when we go to Israel in a month. Anyway, which says the same thing. Actually, if we see there's different voices, there's different aspects that make up who we think we are, which is what you're saying. Yeah. So one thing that can be really helpful is getting to know, what's the body sense when the inner critic's around? Yeah. What's the sense of contractedness? Yeah. Kind of what's the flavor of the mental state? Yeah. Sometimes we say, what's the mood? What kind of verbal manifestations are there? We might notice the kind of the patterning of the thinking. Yeah. Not even the content, but the patterning, the rhythm, the energy, the speed, yeah, the flavor. Yeah, so we start to kind of really get a sense of what's present. How does it, how are things appearing when that is there? And so that can help us to recognize it more quickly. Soothing the pain. Yeah? And when we notice it, I'll just say, when we notice that it's there, just a recognition, it's the inner critic here. Yeah. And this is what it feels like. And just can I open to the other voices in the committee? So here's open again. I pause to notice, I relax the body, and then I open what other members of the committee are here. Yeah. The member that's kind, the member that's compassionate, the member that knows, that's wise, that says, this is just a voice. It's just one voice in the committee. It's just one member of the committee of the mind. And then we can bring a soothing energy to the pain that is there. Yeah. So we can, in a way, decrease the pain or limit the pain a little bit, as you're saying, when we recognize it earlier. And then we can also bring soothing in. So soothing with the breath, if you use the breath. Yeah. Opening the space to your intention. Yeah. Getting in touch with your intentions for life, for your life, for what you're doing with your life. Bringing metta and self-compassion in, if that's helpful. Remembering the bigger picture. There's so many others in the world that also are meeting this, struggling with this, exploring this, and having that sense of community. So there's different ways that we can work with it and soothe it, soothe the pain, at the same time decrease the impact. Yeah. So who am I without this inner judge? The sense of it's just one voice. It's just often a strong voice, but it's only one, and getting to know the other quieter voices. And the importance that it has in giving clarity, I would say, this is where it gets confusing, because sometimes there's a message there that has value, but it's coming already with that atmosphere, which makes it much more difficult. Yeah, much more difficult. And so having a sense, there may be something of value here, but in order to listen to this voice, there needs to be a sense of safety. So kind of just kind of dialing things down, the intensity down, and then discerning, is there something here of value, something that I want to learn from and grow from, but not taking that on with the harmfulness of the critique. Yeah. So I hope that responds to you, Henry. And it's a huge area of exploration, as are all the teachings that we're exploring together. So we've reached our time. Thank you, everyone, for your practice, your dedication, your being here, your dana in all its forms, including the wonderful questions, and go well. Judith, the title of the book, it's called, I already forgot it, Internal Family Systems Theory. I think that's what it's called, Internal Family Systems Theory. There it is. Thanks, Faith. It's been around for a long time, but it's got a new buzz around it, and apparently is very helpful. So yeah, go well, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.